Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We'll now call to order the City of Kelowna regular council meeting for Monday, September 30th, 2019. I'd like to acknowledge that we are gathered today on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Syilx Okanagan people. This meeting is open to the public, and all representations to council form part of the public record. A live audio and video feed is being broadcast and recorded by Castanet, and a delayed broadcast is shown on Shaw Cable. Council, can I get confirmation of our meeting minutes from September 16, 2019, please? Moved by Councillor Hodge, seconded by Councillor Wooldridge. Any errors or omissions? Seeing not, all in favor? Opposed? Minutes are confirmed. Moving on now to development application reports and related bylaws. The first file we'll deal with, item 3.1. This is for property located at 454 Ferris Road, and this application seeks to rezone the subject property from the RU1 large lot housing to the RU1C large lot housing with carriage house zone to facilitate the development of a carriage house. And we go to Andrew Ferguson for this report. Andrew.
Good afternoon, Your Worship. There we go. Okay, the application was submitted to the city on February 13th, and this application has been before council for initial consideration and public hearing. First on April 15th for initial consideration, the public hearing being May 7th. The hearing itself was deferred to a later date to allow the applicant an ability to complete the requirements of notification policy 367. And today we're here to consider the initial consideration again of the property. It's located in the South Mission, just a little west of Lakeshore Road, close to the intersection of Lakeshore and Colette. The subject property before you today that's being considered to rezone is just the south property there that you see highlighted in yellow. The original property was for the initial consideration public hearing involved a much larger parcel. It actually would have been the parcel that has the address of 4630 on it, where you see the existing home. So the applicant has completed their public notification, which they confirmed that was completed on September 9th. We're looking at a different scope of work than the original file brought forth, which included that middle parcel as well. So the applicant is just proposing to rezone the south parcel that's highlighted in yellow. This is just a subject property map that shows the existing house located on the right-hand side of your screen, shown in white. The applicant is proposing the front house to be located where you see the blue on the site plan there, and the carriage house itself would be located to the west of it at the rear of the property, highlighted in red. The development policy, the development proposal, meets all of our policy guidelines for being located within the permanent growth boundary for urban form and character, and for the use of carriage houses and accessory apartments. Staff are recommending support for the rezoning application as it does meet our policies, and that concludes my presentation, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Andrew. There are no questions for you this time. Is there a mover of staff's recommendation? Moved by Councillor Wooldridge, seconded by Councillor Don. Any discussion? Seeing not, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. So two bylaws to deal with in regards to this application now. Item 3.2 is to rescind bylaw number 11812 in order to rezone the subject property. This is again for 454 Ferris Road.
Moved by Councillor Gibbons, seconded by Councillor Wooldridge, that bylaw number 11,812 be read a first time.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. And item 3.3 is to give first reading to bylaw number 11937 in order to rezone the subject property from the RU1 large lot housing zone to the RU1C large lot housing with carriage house zone.
Moved by Councillor Wooldridge, seconded by Councillor Gibbons, that bylaw number 11,937 be read a first time.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. On now to item 3.4, and this is for multiple properties on Spear Street, 2268, 2276, 2284, and 2292, and Pandozzi is 2269 Pandozzi, and this is to extend the deadline for adoption of official community plan, bylaw number 11662, and rezoning amending bylaw number 11663 to August 28th, 2020. And there's no formal presentation, but we have Jocelyn Black here if we have any questions. And Jocelyn, have you reported to council before? I'm trying to recall. Well, welcome. And there are no questions for you at this particular moment. So is there a mover of the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Dawn, seconded by Councillor Hodge. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. All right, next we go back to Jocelyn for item 3.5. This is for property located at 615 Francis Avenue. This is also an extension. This is to extend the deadline for adoption of rezoning amending bylaw number 11635 to July 31st, 2020. Do we have any questions? Seeing none, is there a mover of the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Stack, seconded by Councillor Dawn. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Jocelyn, we can't let you get away without saying at least something. Tell us a little about yourself. How long have you been with the city? And
well, I was born here in Kelowna, went to school in Calgary, and was working in Calgary in the private sector for about 5 years, and I've been with the city since February.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Good to have
Thank
you.
you.
And I'm sure we'll see you at future council meetings. All right, council, now we move on to item 3.6 on the agenda. This is for the property located at 3786 Lakeshore Road, as well as 550 Trustwell Road. And this is to consider a development permit for the reconfiguration of the Cook Road parking lot that serves the Cook Road boat launch. And we have Teresa Atwood for this report.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the application today is for 3786 Lakeshore Road and 550 Trustwell Road. It is to consider the development permit for the reconfiguration of the Cook Road parking lot that services the Cook Road boat launch. It is considered non-accessory parking. For reference, the Cook Road boat launch is located at the end of Cook Road near the Hotel El Dorado and Menteo Resort. The subject properties are here highlighted in blue. So this project is being triggered due to a development nearby, which was the Aqua Resort development, which encompasses the properties along Kokosi Road as well as 550 Trustwell Road. As part of that development, there is an extension of Cook Road that is required. Therefore, the parking lot is being reconfigured and relocated. This was established in a land exchange agreement that was finalized in 2016. The DP and DVP for the Aqua Resort developments was approved in January of 2018. Along with this, there is a relocation of the existing public washrooms. This has been a city-led design process where the developer allowed the city departments to really take the reins, and we worked with a consultant from WSP. Shown here is the existing configuration of the parking lot. The area outlined in red is where the new parking lot will be located, and here it's highlighted in blue just for further clarification. This is the landscape plan for the proposed parking lot. So the city design objectives, our main priority was to create a functional quality design. We worked with quite a few city departments, including parking services, transportation, operations, parks and buildings. Some of our key objectives were to increase the stall width and length, provide a staging area in order to reduce stacking along Cook Road, provide an emergency launch access for RCMP and fire vehicles. We have established a one-way traffic flow, again, to try and prevent stacking on Cook Road. We have increased the drive aisle width within the boat parking area. We are using nose-in stalls. We have also established on-street parking on both sides of the new Cook Road extension. Relocation of the washrooms will be achieved through relocating them into the Aqua development site. And we have achieved no net loss of stalls when you combine the parking lot with the on-street parking. So currently there are no boat staging stalls, and it is quite often in the summer that you can see cars stacking up along Cook Road and sometimes even onto Lakeshore. The new proposal will include 9 staging stalls, both for tie-up and tie-down. There are 52 trailer boat parking stalls proposed. Existing, there are 61, so there is a loss of approximately 9 boat stalls. In terms of car vehicle stalls, there's currently 47 within the parking lot, and we are proposing 40 in the new car park area, so there's a net loss of 7 stalls in the parking lot itself. However, we have provided 2 accessible stalls, which do not currently exist, and as I mentioned, the on-street parking stalls, we are achieving 25 stalls there. So in total, there's a net gain of 20 stalls overall. Now, I apologize for the orientation of these maps. Due to the size and complexity of it, it was fairly difficult to put together a visual that's easy to explain on a PowerPoint. So you can see we've got Lakeshore at the top of the screen, Cook Road in the middle of the screen, and then Okanagan Lake would be the bottom left of the screen. So outlined in purple is where Cook Road will be extended, and it will connect through to Trustwell Road. It will be the main access point for the development of Aqua Resorts. Also highlighted in the bottom is the cross-section that we designed for Cook Road. It does feature parking on both sides of the road. There are two 3.5-meter aisle widths to allow for cars to pass along with boats and trailers. We've also achieved a wider than average boulevard on the north side of Cook Road, which allowed us to achieve increased landscaping. Highlighted in blue is the car park area. So there are 13 medium stalls and the remainder are full-size stalls. Outlined in red is a new pedestrian connection. There is an existing bus stop on Lakeshore Road that has a bit of a grade change from the existing parking lot. So part of this involves establishing a ramp down to the bus stop in order to achieve an accessible pedestrian walkway connecting through to the lakefront. Outlined in green is where there is some existing mature vegetation. We have endeavored to preserve as many mature trees as possible. There are some that are coming down. However, there's 3 or 4 that we are going to be able to save. This is the second side of the parking lot, so this would be oriented more towards the south of the site. Outlined in orange is the boat parking area. So you can see that there is a one-way drive aisle through there. This was designed with intention so that when boats are preparing to load and unload at the launch, the stacking would occur within the parking lot rather than on Cook Road. The stall widths that we went with were 3.5 meters by 18.5 meters. This exceeds our bylaw of today, and it exceeds what currently exists as well. Outlined in purple is the staging areas. So you can see there are 5 stalls for loading up and 4 stalls for unloading. Outlined in red are the 2 emergency lanes. So these are preserved for if there are boats that need to exit quickly or RCMP or fire. Outlined in yellow is where the Cook Road extension is occurring with car parking on both sides of the road. Outlined in green is the new planting that will occur. So we have proposed a double-lined tree planting along this boulevard in order to achieve 1 shade tree per 4 stalls of parking. Due to the functionality of the parking lot and the size of the vehicles that will be using it, it was determined that to have landscape islands or trees within the parking lot would not be functional. Therefore, we attempted to accommodate the additional landscaping along Cook Road and along the south side of the parking lot. The trees along Lakeshore Road will be remaining. The small red square top left of your screen there is where the existing washrooms are. They currently have 1 stall for males with 1 urinal for males and 2 stalls for females. The new washrooms will be located on the Aqua Resort development site. We will establish public access through a statutory right-of-way, and we have maintained that hours of operation will be year-round. The proposed washrooms will include 1 accessible stall for the males, 2 urinals, 2 hand wash basins. The females will have 3 stalls and 2 hand wash basins. And in addition to this, we will have a gender-neutral, accessible family washroom that has handrails, an accessible facility, a baby change table, and will remain open and heated for year-round use. Following our OCP design guidelines, we do not specifically prescribe what design guidelines for a parking lot would be. However, there are a few guidelines in the OCP that we can pull out and apply. Some of these priorities are including the safe movement of pedestrians, which we have achieved through the accessible pedestrian crosswalk. We are using Cook Road to access the parking lot, so we have taken access from the lower class of road. I mentioned the vegetation that we'll be retaining, the north side of the parking lot and along Lakeshore Road. We have achieved 1 shade tree per 4 stalls. The landscaping is used to soften the impact of the parking area. In conclusion, staff are recommending support for the proposed development permit. It meets the intent of the official community plan guidelines. It improves the functionality of what is currently existing, and we have achieved no net loss of stalls. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. There are some questions, starting with Councillor Given.
Thank you so much, Teresa. If you could go back to, let's see, the plan that showed the entrance into the parking lot that included Trustwell as well, so that you could, not that one, but actually that end there. So the flow, if you could just kind of walk me through the flow of traffic so I understand what would happen. Somebody would arrive with their boat. How would they pull in? Where would they move around? And how would they get into the Cook Road parking lot?
Thank you, Your Worship. The The best image might actually be this one here. So again, I apologize that the orientation has been switched.
Yes, no
But along Lakeshore Road here, where my cursor is, was the intersection of Lake and Cook Road, which is the current entrance for the parking lot. So cars would come in here, vehicles with boats would come in here. Currently, this is where the stacking occurs, which can create problems for our transportation group, as well as people accessing the Hotel El Dorado and Menteo Resort.
Okay.
So cars would come in here. They have these staging area in order to set up and load their boats into the lake here. Upon that, they would leave. They come down Cook Road, which, as I mentioned, we've increased the drive aisle widths on Cook Road in order to accommodate the wider vehicles. Come along Cook Road. Down at the bottom here is Trustwell. So they come around Trustwell and enter the parking area with one-way directional traffic. Nose install. They park, they go out, they have fun for the day. As they're leaving, they would back up into this drive aisle. We have, again, increased the width of this drive aisle also in order to accommodate the backing up maneuver. And then they would line up here and stack within the parking lot while they prepare to remove their boat from the lake.
Okay, and so I follow all of that. One of the shots, the very first one that you were looking at, appeared to have a barrier blocking access into the Cook Road. You can see right at the very far right-hand side, it almost appears like there's a barrier there in the roadway. Not there, but just even go to the right of that. And I'm like, okay, how do we actually get in there? Is that really a barrier?
It's not really a barrier. The way that Trustwell and Lakeshore Road are set up right now is there's restricted turning movements there. And so in order to maintain that restriction, this barrier would prevent northbound traffic on Lakeshore from entering a left turn onto Trustwell. So it doesn't have an impact on the parking lot itself. It's more to do with the safety of the intersection at Lakeshore and Trustwell.
Okay. That part confused me because I'm like, okay, I don't actually see how they get in the parking lot, but thank you. If that isn't in fact an actual barrier, then the
That's
flow
correct, Your
works.
Worship. Yeah, it's not an actual barrier. And the reason that that intersection has been deemed as a safety concern is due to the height of the bridge over Mission Creek.
Yes.
In order to accommodate the flood levels. So in designing this, we wanted to ensure that there was no increased traffic at that intersection.
Okay, so is there the potential for boat and trailer blocking off that roadway?
We've designed it to try and prevent that.
Okay, because of course I can see people coming off of Lakeshore, turning right on to Trustwell and running into a boat and trailer blocking the roadway.
The intent is that because the stacking occurs within the parking lot, that it should not have an impact on Trustwell Road itself. And our transportation team was the team that designed this orientation of the traffic in order to avoid that situation, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. I know it's quite a lot different than the initial plan we saw for the area. And one last final question. The washroom is planned to be on the Aqua site. Do we have an interim plan if in fact we have a parking lot built and the Aqua site is not yet completed with a washroom? What is the interim plan to ensure that we still have washroom facilities for the site?
Yes, Your Worship. The triggering of the parking lot construction is tied to Phase 1 of the Aqua Resort development. And Phase 1 that they have intended to construct is their boat storage building, which is where the washrooms will be located. So as the demolition of the existing washrooms happen, the boat storage building should also be under construction. We have spoken with both our Parks and Buildings team as well as our operations team that if there is a gap in service between when the new washrooms are constructed, we have a plan for some temporary blue porta potties.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Your Worship.
Councillor Dunn.
Thanks, Your Worship. So just, I think my question was partly answered with my Councillor Gibbons' questions in regards to just, I know that back in 2010 there was an original plan for this area, so I guess the trigger, it sounds like, is the boat storage triggers this development, and we'll have the funds in place as soon as that happens. I was just asking, like, the third part of the motion is, you know, that we'll take the cash or equivalent, so I guess at what point do we take that, and when does this actually become executed?
Thank you, Your Worship. We already have the cash.
Okay.
Mission Group came in and met with us last week.
Okay.
The value of the parking lot is actually tied to the land exchange agreement.
Okay.
So it's tied to the value of the closure of Kaposi
Okay.
Road, which council has seen, I think in 2018
Yeah.
was when
Yeah, I
that
remember
was
seeing that.
passed. Yeah. So the dollar values have been established. The Mission Group has bonded at 140%, both for the washrooms, the extension of Cook Road, the landscaping, and the parking lot itself, Your Worship.
Okay, so yeah, even if we go back to a scenario what happened in 2010 kind of thing, feels like it's enough in place that this is, what the public sees today will happen.
That's correct, Your Worship. Should council not support the development permit today and request any design changes,
Right.
that's certainly feasible, but we do have the funds in place for the actual construction.
Okay, thanks. So it's part of my, no, I actually like this plan better. This actually makes more logical sense. There's a question on the trust well, but I think that's fine. But I think the actual parking lot itself for the boats in and out makes more sense than the last version. So no, I appreciate the changes and just, yeah, well, I'll be supportive of this. Just curious what I should tell the public if they say, is it happening for sure, or is it based on a whole full build of Aqua? So thank you.
Councillor DeHart.
Thank you, yeah, and thank you for going over this, because I even took the plan down there because I walk down there all the time, so this was really good. I guess the one question I wanted to ask, so this is paid parking, correct?
This will be paid parking.
Okay.
I believe our Director of Parking Services is here in the gallery. I wouldn't be able to comment on exactly what the fees are, but we do collect revenue from this parking lot currently, and we will continue to collect revenue once it's constructed.
Well, yeah, my question was, because I know the parking was extremely reasonable, it was $5 per day, and you know, a lot of people came to me and said, even the people there, it's ridiculous. No wonder that we can't get parking. People are paying $5 per day for a boat and trailer, and I went and looked at it myself. So I'm just saying that, you know, we're doing a whole new plan, and it's reasonable, but yeah, but I understood there was going to be an increase, because I think that's half the problem.
I agree, Your Worship, and I believe that there's an overall study being done right now on all of our parking lots, and
Good.
there will be
Yeah.
most likely be an increase across the board.
No, that's great, thank you.
Councillor Stack.
My question is just, with the bonding in place, what is the construction schedule for this?
We have originally, the land exchange agreement gave only 1 year in order for the parking lot to be constructed. However, there was concern from staff that that might interfere with summer boating season. So we've extended the construction to be completed by May 2021, with construction only to occur between September 2020 and May 2021, so that we can preserve the parking lot during the summer months.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, is there a mover of staff's recommendation? Moved by Councillor Don, seconded by Councillor Given. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing not, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Teresa. And to all the staff involved in helping this move forward. All right, we are at item 3.7 now. We need to deal with two bylaws in order to get to the final item. So item 3.7 is for property located at 820 Finns Road, and to adopt bylaw number 11246 in order to change the future land use designation of the subject property to allow the lands to be used for service commercial development.
Moved by Councillor Given, seconded by Councillor Wooldridge, that bylaw number 11,246 be adopted.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. And item 3.8 is to adopt bylaw number 11247 in order to rezone the subject property to allow the lands to be used for service commercial development. And again, this is located at 820 Finns Road.
Moved by Councillor Wooldridge, seconded by Councillor Given, that bylaw number 11,247 be adopted.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. So now that the property has been formally rezoned, that allows us now to hear the application for the form and character development permit for a proposed car dealership on the property, again, at 820 Finns Road. And for this report, we go back or over to Terry Barton. Terry.
Good afternoon, Council. Good afternoon, Your Worship. The proposal before Council is for a form and character development permit, and should the permit be supported here by Council, the project would move immediately through to the building permit stage. So this is the final part of a multi-year plan to be able to develop a car dealership in the area. There have been a number of other car dealerships that have been achieved there, and this is all by the same master developer. The subject property is located between Highway 97 and Finns Road, as shown on screen. It's what we refer to as a double fronting road. It also is adjacent to Francis Brook on the southwest side. The proposal is for a car dealership for an Audi brand. The proposal would include a typical car dealership to include a showroom, a car servicing area, repair area, as well as office for employees. The form and character is modern in their design style with curtain wall glazing, aluminum panels, and corrugated metal siding. Here's the site plan showing how the building would be laid out on site. The building is large in nature and would take up the central part of the site, as shown in the light blue and light purple. and surrounded by the building would be the parking areas. The architect has submitted the following renderings showing the modern design of the Audi dealership with plenty of glazing as it fronts out onto the public roads. And here are the corresponding elevations. This is the top is the south elevation and the bottom is the north. And equally, here's the top is the east and the bottom is the west. The areas where there's minimal amounts of glazing and windows are the more pragmatic back-of-house operations where the repair areas and service shop areas are located. The development permit also proposes a landscape around the perimeter of the site, as shown on screen and included in the council package. So in regards to the form and character and the city's development policies, the proposed car dealership would complement many of the other car dealerships that have already been established in the area along Finns Road. And the building design utilizes durable, high-quality materials. The large surface parking lot is a function of the car dealerships that the planning department is acknowledging. And certainly the landscape areas have been done around the perimeter of site to their best of their abilities. As a couple of reminders, the development will trigger the road frontage improvements, and so there would be a significant gain in terms of the urbanization and streetscape along Finns Road, which would include city typical curb, gutter, sidewalk, street trees, and boulevard. And as well, the development will ensure the protection and restoration of Francis Brook, and there's a 15-meter setback that's been achieved there, a park dedication, and this development is also fully bonded to be able to carry out the necessary restoration and riparian area plantings. So overall, Your Worship, staff are recommending support for the proposed DP application, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Terry. And there are no questions for you at this time, so I'll look for a mover of staff's recommendation, moved by Councillor DeHart, seconded by Councillor Don. Any discussion? Seeing not, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. So now we'll move into non-development reports and related bylaws, and there's just one of those. This is in regards to the night construction along KLO Road, or to request council to authorize after-hours non-emergency work for a duration longer than 5 days, as allowed for in traffic bylaw number 8120, Schedule B, Section 25C, to be precise. And this is in regards to, of course, the Seekid water works that are taking place in our community. But to explain more on the rationale for the nighttime work, we have Alan Newcomb. Alan.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Your Worship and City Council. The report in front of you today is to request council to authorize the non-emergency after-hours work along KLO Road in the vicinity of the intersection of KLO and East Kelowna Road and McCullough Road, up near the McCullough Station Pub. Going back a couple of months, we had a construction meeting, a public meeting, for proposed works along KLO Road from the area in the vicinity of McCullough Station Pub down to the Hall Road intersection. At that point in time, council may recall there were a number of letters and phone calls that came in from concerned business owners in the area about the impact that this may have on their operations. At that time, the business owners were requesting nighttime work. Staff went back and worked with the contractor and our design consultants, came up with actually an alternative plan for the majority of the work along KLO Road. However, there were some components of the installation that still required to be done along KLO Road. The area of most concern up near McCullough Station Pub, we negotiated with the contractor to do that work at night. And propose to begin this evening. Traffic bylaw currently allows for 5 days and staff to authorize that work for a contractor. We're expecting the duration to be longer than 5 days, perhaps 8 to 10. So I'm here before you today to request that authorization for the contractor to do that work.
Thank you very much, Alan. There's some questions starting with Councillor Singh.
Thanks, Your Worship. Is there more of a cost factor here, Alan, to the whole project?
Pardon me, sorry?
Would there be more of a cost factor to change the timing?
We have managed to negotiate with the contractor to, so that there will be no impact on the cost for this section of work, to do the work overnight.
Perfect, thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to make a comment. Do you want me
Please,
to hold
go
off?
ahead.
I just want to say thanks, Alan. 3 weeks more of apple harvest. Farmers have up to about the 19th or the 20th. That's the target for their end date, and this is crucial time for them, and this makes all the difference in terms of getting their fruit to the packing house. So, thank you.
Councillor Hodge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wondered, do we have we anticipate any significant numbers of complaints from people about this at all? And what sort of a scenario do we have, if any, when timelines extend longer than that? Do we have any kind of a second plan, a backup plan, a compensation scenario? What happens?
Your Worship, any construction may cause anxiety or with the public out there. I don't anticipate many complaints. However, it's certainly a reality.
I mean, overnight, you're talking overnight work?
Correct.
Throughout the evening, people can't sleep, they're working. If it's So I'm just wondering, I can say to someone, it's a week, suck it up, put up with it, that's how it goes. But anything longer than that starts to sort of have an impact on people's lifestyles and patience and sleep rhythms. And so I'm just wondering if we have any sort of a...
Yes, Your Worship. This section, we're only talking about 250 meters of water main installation that will be occurring at night. The businesses that front this section had all requested the work be done at night.
I'm more worried about the residency, not business. Business benefits from it, but the people who live around it don't necessarily.
Yes, Your Worship. There were the area is sparsely populated with residential properties in the area. There are a few orchards. We did hear from some of them as well that were in support of the night work, since they did have orchard operations. And I had requested the contractor to talk individually to the other property owners in the area there. And as of today, I have not heard of any objections at this point in time.
Wonderful. Good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Wooldridge.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just a comment, that's fine?
Yep, please.
Just wanted to say a big kudos to you, Alan, and your team for getting this arranged. I know that big projects like this are a challenge to get done, and we did receive a lot of feedback from the community, so I just really appreciate that you guys were able to come to the table and reach some arrangements with the contractor and get the job done. So just wanted to pass that along.
Councillor DeHart.
Thank you. I, too, think it's just really commendable that you were willing to get all this. There was a lot of concern about it, as you know. I received a lot. I know some of the other councillors did. And I just think you've done a commendable job, and especially to work with the contractor. I know they were very willing to work with you, but to both of you, because I think you've come up with an exceptional plan here. And I think it's a win-win for everybody. And like you said, it's very sparse up there. There aren't a lot of homes. It's mostly businesses and orchards. So, no, I think you've done an excellent job. Thank you.
So I move of staff's recommendation, moved by Councillor Wooldridge, seconded by Councillor Singh. Any discussion further? Seeing not, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Alan. So now we're into bylaws for adoption that are non-development related. There's just a few of those. Item 5.1 is to adopt bylaw number 11917, which is the rescindment of the Kelowna passenger vehicles for hire bylaw number 6466-89.
Moved by Councillor Stack, seconded by Councillor Don, that bylaw number 11,917 be adopted.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Item 5.2 is to adopt bylaw number 11924, which is amendment number 10 to water regulation bylaw number 10480.
Moved by Councillor Don, seconded by Councillor Stack, that bylaw number 11,924 be adopted.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Item 5.3, to adopt bylaw number 11926, which is to repeal bylaw for secret bylaw numbers 664, 669, and 693.
Moved by Councillor Stack, seconded by Councillor DeHart, that bylaw number 11,926 be adopted.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. And item 5.4 is to adopt bylaw number 11935, which is the rescindment of commercial vehicle licensing bylaw number 5869-87.
Moved by Councillor DeHart, seconded by Councillor Stack, that bylaw number 11,935 be adopted.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. All right, that concludes the items, most of the items on the public hearing agenda, or public hearing, regular meeting agenda. Now time for councillor items, and today I will start with a very busy Deputy Mayor, Councillor Stack.
Thank you, Your Worship, and yes, it was a busy Deputy Mayor, but probably not as busy as you guys at UBCM, because I've heard some of the schedules that you maintained as well. I won't cover all the things, but just touch on a couple of things that happened last week while you were at convention. We had the grand opening of Staples, and actually Councillor DeHart was with me on that, and we welcomed them and congratulated them on a very interesting new office concept of Spaces. So anyone that hasn't seen that, I would encourage you to go up and see their new work area that's part of Staples. And I slipped into the word Spaces, but Spaces is also opened last week across the street. And so we went and they had a reception, and I went on behalf of council for that. Grand opening of Work BC, a very, very interesting new business at the Capri Centre, right beside where the old Winners was. They've opened up a very big office, and I was amazed to see they actually have 40 employees working in there. And that's where essentially, if you're looking for work and need assistance, that's where you go. And they were very, very excited to open this new office. It's really a flagship for them, and they're very excited about the prospects, because they work both with employers and they work with employees that are seeking work. So it's a really nice asset for our city, and a really, really well-run operation from what I could see. We had the grand opening of the Senstitution School on the West Bank First Nations last week. In essence, it's a grand reopening. They've renovated the school, and you know, the West Bank First Nation was very proud of their new school, and they have every right to be. It is spectacular, and the artwork they do there is amazing. And it really has been a labor of love for the members of that group for many, many years. And they were clearly celebrating the opening of a new school. Finally, we had the kickoff of Cultural Days, and I know the mayor had planned to be there, but unfortunately his plane was delayed. So we were able to jump in, and there was a very nice kickoff there. And I think from what I could see, a very successful Cultural Days weekend. So all in all, a very busy week. Today is September 30th. Tomorrow, I am not the deputy mayor.
Councillor DeHart.
Thank you, Worship. Just, well, I guess probably all my colleagues will speak a little bit about UBCM and what a really good conference it was. A few things that, I'll just do a couple things that highlighted, because everyone will probably do their own highlights. I really wanted, one of our staff members, Joel Shaw, came and he spoke on Tuesday at a large urban communities event that we had. And I thought that was really, really good that Kelowna was up there on the platform with a lot of other people that had expertise in their field. And I thought he actually did the best job of everyone. His lots of slides, and it was really, really good. So I really enjoyed that. We did meet, all of us, with some ministers. I was very appreciative. The mayor invited us, or invited me and some others, to the Ministry of Forest, Lands and Natural Resources and Operations. I thought that was really, really interesting. We did see quite a few other ministers throughout the week. I actually ran into Selena Robinson, Minister Robinson, and we had a chat about what's happening with the rentals, the new forms, the new things that they brought in with the rental agreement, because so I had a chat with her about that. We all attended, there was a lot of seminars, but I think one of the best things was colleagues, not only our colleagues, but colleagues from all around BC, to see the concerns they have. And to me, it's like BC, we have all the same concerns, and we're all working on the same thing. We're all trying to do our best on different items. So all in all, it was a really good conference. Saw lots of people, and we were able to, I think Kelowna really made an impact. I know the mayor will speak. He met with many ministers, and I think we made a real impact there. And actually, I heard our name several times around at different things, whether it was a reception or a dinner or just in the hallway, getting coffee. I went to one of the round tables. There was a huge round table event the very first day where there was tons of ministry people there, and there was like our Okanagan Water Basin Board was there, and BC Healthy Communities Ministry, and that was really interesting to me. And of course, we got all the cards of the people that were there, so now we have some contacts if we'd like to ask them some further questions. So all in all, I thought it was a really good conference, and I was very appreciative to be able to go. Thank you.
Councillor Dolan. Councillor Rauch.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just add one or two things. I know that it was UBC was very, very diverse one, a lot of different events to go to, but I particularly enjoyed some of the talks and speakers we had. Particularly, of course, Mr. Mansbridge was very inspirational and kind of very much reminded us what it's like to be Canadian and how fortunate we are. And he was, of course, an effective speaker. Mr. Horgan, I quite enjoyed. He talked a number of different times at different parts of the event. Quite an entertaining fellow with a sense of humor, considering he was having a lot of difficult times. But, he's definitely not afraid of going into dangerous territory when he talks. I quite enjoyed him. We went through countless resolutions, some of which I have no idea why they're even there, a number of which were worthy. But again, it was mostly, for me, a lot of these events are not just the workshops and the lessons, but the networking. And normally I would gather around my local council, but this particular time I managed to, for some reason or other, spend a lot of time rubbing shoulders with West Kelowna and Lake Country people, which was interesting because they're not your council, but they're your neighbors. And I just really felt that quite interesting. Of course, I have a cousin on council on the mainland and a best friend on council in Qualicum Beach, so it allowed me a chance to see how things are going with them. I think the one thing I come back with, Mr. Mayor, I mentioned this earlier, though, it was a bit sobering for me in the fact that I managed to drive into Vancouver and back, and my process there took me down Hastings Street and quite quickly took me down through their version of no man's land. And it was a real sombering wake-up to the issues that Vancouver has with the world of the street people. I was down there a year ago, and I would suggest that the problems they're having there are double what they were a year ago. And inadvertently had to avoid a shooting that took place, so we wound up around the park. A great discussion down there. Absolutely just horrendous number of people living in the parks there in tent cities. So, while I know it's not encouraging, Kelowna's problem is significant, but rest assured, if that's called resting assured, that what I heard from all our municipalities and what I saw in Vancouver is that sadly we are not alone with this issue, and it is actually indeed getting bigger and bigger in every community. It's like an overwhelming tide, and it tended to be the subject of conversation everywhere I went. So we are not alone in fighting this epidemic in a twisted kind of way that was comforting to know. But yeah, it just was what it was, quite eye-opening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Singh, you're good? Councillor Wooldridge.
Thanks, Your Worship. I too was at UBCM, and my very first one. It was invaluable to me. The theme this year was change and resiliency, so I'll touch a bit on the key moments for myself while I was there. I too attended the Large Urban Cities Forum amongst, I think all of us were there actually, and the highlight for me was our natural asset inventory. I already apologized to our Director of Finance about wanting to do that moving forward, but the City of West Vancouver valued all of their natural assets, and the values came out over like $3.2 billion or something like that. So we often value our hard infrastructure, but not necessarily our natural infrastructure. So That was a big highlight for me. Then I was also invited by your worship to attend the Tri-Minister meeting with Ministry of Health, Ministry of Mental Health and Addiction, and the Ministry of Housing, addressing some of the most pressing social challenges that we're faced with in the city. So really great to see that Kelowna is a front runner at everything we've been doing here. So we had the ear of 3 ministers at once, which was excellent. And then Councillor Don showed me the ropes at a minister's panel on infrastructure. So I brought forward the Bridge Youth and Families Capital Campaign project for a youth treatment facility. So that was great. And then I also sat through a really, really exciting workshop on rideshare legislation, which was interesting, but very, very dry. And then last but not least, I'm wearing an orange shirt today to educate people and promote awareness about the impact that the residential school system had on our Indigenous communities. I did a bit of research why September 30th, and it was chosen because this was the time of year that kids were removed from their homes and sent to residential schools. So last but not least, but that's why I'm donning the orange shirt today. Thank you.
Councillor Given.
Thank you, Your Worship. I won't touch on all the various different sessions, but rather just to say how much I appreciate the professional development that occurs at a session like UBCM. Certainly, there's great learnings in a number of different areas. One of the really interesting one was disrupting money laundering, and the information that they provided and the fact that they felt at very minimum housing prices across all of BC are 5% higher than they would otherwise have been without these challenges. So, and that was a very conservative estimate. So it's really interesting how the spin-off can impact all of us right across the province. And now as they tighten down on the casino side of things, how it's moving its way through into real estate, into luxury cars, was really quite interesting, the different processes and legislation that the province is putting in place to curb a number of these issues, but how that in fact has contributed to housing prices. In addition to a number of different sessions that really provided a lot of information, I had quite enjoyed the one on waste management and how we manage waste moving forward, with a real focus on, we've heard reduce, reuse, recycle for many, many years, and lots of talk about recycle, and then they talk about waste to energy. And it's interesting that they consider waste to energy a 4th R, and quite honestly, our real focus needs to be on the reduce side of the waste that we create. That's where the best outcomes will happen when we put all of our efforts towards encouraging folks to reduce the types of garbage that they're producing. So lots and lots of information there. And finally, Your Worship, I really want to pass on my appreciation to you for your leadership in the minister meetings. I heard feedback throughout the conference from ADMs, from their support staff, that Kelowna was organized, effective, efficient, clear messages, and they really appreciated the meetings with you as you advance some of the issues that are of concern to our citizens. So I wanted to pass on my appreciation to you for the efforts that you did in leading those meetings. There was often a number of people in the meetings, and those kinds of meetings can kind of go astray and you don't get your message delivered. They're short, but you were very effective, and I think all of us should be proud that you are serving us. So thank you very much for your work.
Thank you very much for those kind words. I appreciate it. And I want to thank the city manager as well as staff for helping prepare me for those meetings. And yeah, certainly greatly appreciated. But thank you. It was a total team effort. So I appreciate that. Councillor Don.
Councillor Hart was encouraging me to say a few words, so I'll take her nudge or her elbow and say a few words. So I would say for me personally, I found it probably the most effective UBCM I've had a chance to be a part of. Again, talking to Councillor Woolridge, it's like a chance to use some of the experience from the past few UBCMs and understand the town halls, or a chance to essentially re-emphasize every message we have. And it felt like a true collective effort. I think we used about a 20th of the time kind of thing, with just, or 20% of the time was used up for Kelowna issues, and I know that they walked away every day going, Kelowna was top of mind. So I just think that was a real collective team effort. I think it was because of the numbers going. I would easily defend that any time anybody asked me about why numbers, because there is a massive amount of staff we're building relationships with and advocating for in different side conversations, such as we had a chance to talk to Lyft. I mean, often it's been Uber has been in the forefront, but just understanding where their business case is at. So they're launching in Vancouver. Will they consider launching here? What business case can we provide to launch as we have more transportation options? So they understand the forestry sector, what's going on, because we have a pretty direct impact in this community as to people losing their jobs. I didn't understand it. It's a provincial thing, but that's what I had a chance to learn at that thing. So yeah, it truly was probably the most effective I have personally will be, and I felt like it was also that as a team as well. So just want to make some acknowledgement just because at the encouragement of my other councillor.
Thank you. Just a couple things from me. Firstly, I'll always remember this UBCM because anytime I see a logging truck, it will take me right back to this this past week. Certainly, they were very effective in getting their message across, and quite a sight and sound to witness. So that was certainly something unique. Just want to touch on, and it's been mentioned, but certainly Kelowna came up in a number of different presentations in terms of being best practice leaders. And so one of the programs that we have running here in our community that others I'm sure will be following, and it was presented on one of the panels, was in regards to our people employment program that's providing work for people who with lived experience who have been homeless on our streets. And I want to give a shout out to Aaron Welk from Urban Matters, who has been a leading force in establishing that program. But just one example of the many programs or things that we're doing here in the community to address different things, and that people employment program being on display was certainly one that I was extremely proud of. Just want to touch on, but it's already been alluded to, the fact that we had one meeting with 3 different ministers. I can't recall that something like that taking place at past UBCM, so I think something that was very rare. And so I'm proud of the fact we were able to get a meeting like that. In this particular instance, as mentioned, it was the housing minister, mental health and addictions, as well as the health minister. And that was to bring forth again our position on the social issues in our community. And I was really heartened by the fact that there is an acknowledgement by this government that the greatest need right now, and it doesn't fit into any of their housing programs at the moment, is housing and supports for our highest, most complex needs residents. Those are the residents who make the headlines for all of the wrong reasons, who use up a majority of the resources, and are most visible to our residents. And yet there's no housing program or support program specifically for those individuals, which this government recognizes. And so I look forward to seeing how this evolves in terms of how they plan to address those residents. And so that was very important. So I think I'll sort of leave it there on the UBCM front. I will also mention, and I just want to offer congratulations to Chief-elect Chris Derrickson of the West Bank First Nation and to their new council. Very excited to be working with Chief Derrickson and his new council. I think that it's going to be another great opportunity to continue to advance the relationship between both of our communities, and just really excited that he has been elected chief. And I think that's about it for me. So no public hearing this Tuesday. We get back to our regular schedule next week with a public hearing next week. So unless there's any other reminders, we will call this meeting adjourned.